Welcome to today's wellbeing workout. Hope you're having a good week. So, this week's question is, why do I always compare myself to others? And our first answer is, your social comparison circuits have been strengthened by heavy use of social media. That may or may not be true, but it's one of the key aspects of our experience that's changed in the last 15 years. We've begun to spend a lot of time on our phones, and for many people, spending a lot of time on our phones means we are looking into other people's lives. People are curating their lives and sharing with us the best bits, which leads us to engage in processes of comparison. So the digital realm presents hazards for our mental health, and I just want to give you an overview of some of those hazards before we look particularly at the whole issue of comparison. So the digital realm can lead us to experience the face hugger effect, looking down at our phones when we could be looking up out at the world. Exposure to bad actors, not movie actors, no, people with difficult responses online. We are exposed to those people in a way that we wouldn't be in real life. The real world harm and reputation damage that can be caused on the internet when we respond in a way that can be misconstrued by people. The digital realm reduces our ability to do well-being behaviours. It reduces our sleep. It stops us exercising. It might mean that we spend an awful lot of time sitting still. We might experience algorithmic hell in the digital realm, where we're looking at something and then we're given lots of similar content by the algorithm. Comparisonitis, which is where we came in, that whole issue of looking at other people's lives. If you think about it, a facility that was not available until the advent of social media. We might end up stuck in social media bubbles, just surrounded by people we agree with. It has a huge impact on our mood and motivation, the digital realm, mostly because we're sitting still, but also because we're comparing ourselves with others, and there's also fear of missing out. So the face hugger effect on its own has a huge impact on our mental health. It means we're missing the world, but it means we're also engaging in lots of habitual behaviour on our phone, and we're not engaging with the people perhaps that are with us. The apps on our phone have been designed to keep us on them for as long as possible, because behind the scenes, those free apps, those social media apps particularly, but many other apps, are gathering data and then selling that information on, because we've agreed to the terms and conditions, which none of us ever read, selling our data on to third parties that they can then present us with products that we might be interested in. It's called surveillance capitalism. It's been carefully designed, the digital realm, to keep us experiencing it. There's infinite scroll. We get little bursts of dopamine whenever we get a notification, and we end up stuck in a habit loop. Remember that we shape the front of our brain every day by our daily behaviours, our habits, our relationships with others and ourselves, and the goals that drive us forward. And if we spend a lot of time on social media comparing ourselves with others, we're strengthening the circuits of comparison in a way that's not helpful. And those circuits of comparison, all of that tissue just behind the forehead, is all about our self-image and our personality. And we might spend a lot of our time comparing ourselves with other people, but comparing ourselves with a curated version of other people's lives, which looks much more positive than our life could possibly be. No one takes a photo of their burnt dinner and sticks it on Instagram. That process of comparison can get us stuck in ruminatory cycles of brooding. Remember, we're in a neurally plastic brain, so whatever we use our brain for, it will strengthen those connections. We can, on the digital realm, be exposed to bad actors, not people that you see in television programs that are acting very badly, but people that want to take advantage of us, people who want to scam us, abuse us, upset us, annoy us, say unkind things to us and exploit us. So another answer to this question, why do I always compare myself with others? Answer 2, if you have been unfairly treated by others, your brain will vigilantly check that the people around you are not exploiting or using you. Now, humans have got a built-in system to check for fairness. We feel that the world should be fair, and that built-in checking for fairness comes about because we are competing for parental resource and parental time as children. And in order to check that we're being treated fairly, we've got this instinct for fairness, which we then send out into the world. We have this sense that life should be fair. And if we've been treated unfairly in the past, our brain is going to become particularly vigilant around fairness to make sure that we're not being exploited or being used by people. Now, social media amplifies the extremes of our experience. If we use it, we'll be exposed to more and more extreme views. These extreme views might impact us in unexpected ways, challenging our values, our sense of what is normal in the world, and our view of others and ourselves. Remember these subtle psychosocial forces that are constantly shaping our brain. And if we think about that process of being exposed to content we wouldn't ordinarily experience, you could think of it as being primed. Priming involves the brain being tipped toward particular opinions and perceptions by the pre-firing networks that generate those opinions. If we're exposed to those experiences online, we might become sensitized to those experiences and have more thoughts associated and linked to those experiences. So for example, if I show you these lovely cute pictures of bunnies, this very famous optical illusion, it might mean that you're more likely to see the bunny looking towards the right than the duck looking towards the left, because I've exposed you to that picture of bunnies to start with. And if I now prime you with the notion of food, and you look at this word, you might decide that the missing letter is U for soup, because we primed you with food. If I primed you here with pictures of bathrooms and showers, you might have made that missing letter an A, soap. If we're exposed to someone who behaves badly, uses poor language, or holds prejudiced views, that can impact on us enormously, and it can set off our own reactive systems. It can prime us to respond in similarly tricky and difficult ways. One incredibly important process to engage in when we're on social media, when we're on our phones, is to think about how we're experiencing that time. Is it a positive time? And there are many positive aspects of being connected with people online, or is it leaving us feeling negative? If we monitor this process, we can see which times the use of social media is massively affecting us. For example, there's quite a lot of evidence that doom scrolling your way through the evening can massively impact on your mood in a negative fashion. And if you track it in this fashion, you become metacognitively aware of it. And remember, we've talked about in previous wellbeing workouts, the mind-wandering network our brain uses to solve problems has got 3 modes. It's got a negative worst-case scenario mode, a positive best-case scenario mode, and one in the middle, a realistic most likely case scenario. A heavy use of social media might mean that our negative worst-case scenario circuits become very strong, and it's much harder to have more optimistic thinking and outcomes. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll be back next Wednesday when we're looking